if you've been thinking about losing the belly, I've been there. And you might have done a little bit of training for a little bit. Maybe you started eating well, and then all of that goes off the edge of a cliff. The reason is, when you do it for vanity, for aesthetics, it's so hard to get up in the morning when it's dark, cold, wet, when you're tired, and do the habits you need to make it consistent, lasting change. Because it's purely for vanity. And especially when you're married, when you've got kids. You're not looking for a bird, you've got a bird. So aesthetics isn't enough. So what is belly fat, and what are the reasons why it really, really matters to your life? Let's take a little deep dive. Deep dive, that pun is intended. You'll see why in a second now. So what's this? That's a blue squiggly line. This is the sea. And this is the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is belly fat. This is what we see, the aesthetic. When we're motivated by the tip of the iceberg, it doesn't last. What lies underneath? So underneath, there's a lot more going on. I'll break it down. ED. 51% of men over the age of 40 suffer from ED, according to the urology department in the States, or the UK, sorry. That's erectile dysfunction. You can't get an erection. This is tied to belly fat. The C word, the thing that 1 in 2 people are going to get in their lifetime. For some reason, I think on YouTube, you're not allowed to say that word. But yeah, it's a C-U-N-T anyway. We know that. Right, stroke. Blood clots. Heart disease. CHD. Or heart attacks. Sleep apnea. This can kill you. So this is when you're very overweight, especially around the neck area. You don't breathe. Sometimes you stop breathing altogether in your sleep. And you might experience this. You might have sleep apnea. You find you wake up and you're always very tired, even if you've had a long sleep. Diabetes. Becoming more and more common. Type 2, which is lifestyle. And high blood pressure, or what's also known as hypertension. So when you think or you see your belly, don't just see the tip of the iceberg, see what lies underneath. All of these factors, that simply by losing that belly fat, these go away. Okay. So why does being lean matter? Because when we hear the word lean, again, we think six-pack. We think about what you see in the mirror. But it's not just mirror stuff. Belly fat messes with everything. Visceral fat is the fat that lies in between our organs. And this is the stuff that's very, very dangerous. It poses a real long-term risk to our health. If we can get rid of this stuff, not just will we move better and live longer, but our clothes will fit better. We'll feel less stressed when we go on holiday and we realize that we have to take our shirt off when it gets to the pool time. But also, beyond this, we're going to be there for our kids, for our grandkids, as we get older. So don't just think about it as what you see in the mirror. Think about it as what lies underneath, and what's the opposite of being overweight? It's being lean. Because we can lose weight. You can lose weight very easily, just to have a calorie deficit. But let me tell you this. I didn't use my spray. I'm sure it'll be okay. Calories equal body weight. So if you simply cut your calories, you'll lose weight. Macros equal body composition. This is protein, fat, and carbs. Body composition is muscle to fat ratio. Right. And finally, micros equal body performance. So if you think, okay, I just want to lose weight, you can lose weight, you can weigh less just by cutting your leg off, but you'll look and feel like shit. And the same comes to just cutting calories. You'll look and feel like shit. If you cut your calories and you just focus on macros, your body composition will change, you'll get leaner, you'll look great, but you won't feel great. If you are in a calorie deficit, you track your macros, or you're aware of them, and your micros, you'll perform better and you'll feel better. And if you do all of these, you have a sustainable solution. If you just focus on calories, you'll get caught in a cycle. I click on this next video up here to learn more about that. An example with my client Dave. His real name is not Dave. I'm just saying Dave to protect his identity because he's a bit of a shy chap. I work in Ireland, a lot of Irish clients, and Irish men tend to be a bit, maybe shy is the wrong word, but they don't like to show themselves half naked a lot. Anyway, there's more on that topic in that video. So let's talk about, let's get back to the topic of being lean, okay? Now, being lean is the physical manifestation of something that started in our head. Mindset is paramount importance. So mindset first. Above everything. Without mindset, none of this works. Discipline is more important than motivation. Hopefully I stay on the screen here. And you hear this term a lot, especially by whichever Navy SEAL you're listening to online, which I like to listen to Navy SEALs too. But you don't have a discipline issue, you have a systems issue. We don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And that's from Atomic Habits, James Clear. So forget about your ceiling, what you want to achieve, as in, I'm going to take these supplements, I'm going to do so many workouts, eat this, eat that. Focus on your floor. So these are the minimums I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you now the systems you can put in place and how to implement them. And they're very, very simple. Okay, just swallowed half of that spray. Now, just to give you a visual representation of discipline versus motivation, this is the chart, okay? And you have motivation and discipline. So this is motivation. And this, let's do a different color, shall we? Where's my green? That's motivation. This is discipline. Now, motivation happens and it's very unreliable because it's January, this little peak here, right? So you're at January time and it's new year, new me. Then when that subsides, you hit March here. We hit a trough. And then summer's coming. I know I have to take my shirt off. So we're in June here, June, July. It just keeps going like this. And ultimately, this is not sustainable because consistency is what really makes the change. If we have discipline, i.e. we have the systems in place, the reason why this is an exponential curve as opposed to linear, a straight curve, is because these systems compound. So over time, you'll find that when you add in these habits, these systems, you get exponentially healthier. Because we like to think of ourselves. Let me show you your life. This is your life. You ready? I'm 43. I live in Ireland. The average age of death here is 82. So I'm going to draw our life. Let's keep this inclusive. So let's start, we're born here. This is when we're going to die. And this is the lifeline. So I am about here. Where are you on this curve? Oh, not this curve, sorry, this line. Let's say I'm here. Now, when we're born, we are a little ball of potential. And we're growing. Our mother's feeding us, so we're getting good nutrition. We are running around all the time, crawling around. Then we go to school and we start playing football, playing sports a little bit. So we're always active. We've got community around us, other lads. We're still eating well because our mum's cooking for us. And then we get to university. We discover alcohol and other things. And this is when our first bit of independence, we start to maybe fall off a cliff a little bit. So by about in our mid-20s, our body starts to decline. Because we think, all right, if I just stay the same, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, everything's going to stay the same. But no, change is constant. Our muscles are either growing or they're shrinking. They don't stay the same. So if you do nothing, the green represents your muscle, okay? I'll put an M here. So you're growing as a child, baby, teenager, adult, and then without the physical stimulus, and maybe the diet goes astray a little bit, we start to decline. And this is just father time and lack of maintenance. And it's a slow decline. But when we reach middle age, and this can be done at any age, but the sooner the better, we start to look after ourselves. We start to address this. And we start to get stronger, healthier. These 2 points here at the end, this is the 70, 80-year-old who, well, let's say 80, right? Because this 80-year-old is hiking with their grandkids. They're playing golf with their son. They're walking their daughter up the aisle. They're dancing with her at a wedding. This 80-year-old, well, maybe not 80, but or maybe your granddaughter. This 8-year-old is being visited by their kids in the nursing home. They can't go off the toilet without assistance. So choose which 8-year-old you're going to be. And that choice is made way back here by these daily little habits that compound over time. So what are these habits? What are these rules? I'm going to break them down for you. And they're very, very simple. So, the 5 rules for getting and staying lean. Rule number 1. Eat real food. Single ingredient, high nutrient food. I'll give you an example. A potato. That's just one ingredient. It's highly nutritious. The same way beef, one of the most nutritious foods you can eat, is a single ingredient and has all the micros that I mentioned earlier. Try to ditch UPFs or ultra processed foods. That's anything that's not single ingredient. So single ingredient foods come from a farm. UPFs come from a factory. So fam. Oh, I abandoned my system. Don't abandon your systems, guys. Look, see? It all goes to pot if you do that. I was looking for the shortcut there, and now I've got pen on my hand, and I made a big smudge. So farm over factory when it comes to your food. A good ratio here, for me, I try to follow a 90-10 because I want to have a bit of flexibility. I want to be able to have ice cream with the kids, glass of wine with the wife. But 90-10 is what I go for. But I would say to start off, go for the ratio of 80-20. If you say instead, I'm going to completely get rid of ultra-processed foods, you will go into withdrawal. Because we are addicted to food. People will talk about the damaging effects of heroin addiction or alcohol addiction, but the chronic obesity, the amount of obesity at the moment shows us that we're all addicted to food. I mean, even if you're not obese, it's everywhere. The highly palatable foods. Okay, right. So real food equals real energy, more energy. Helps you train for longer. Helps you train harder to stay fuller for longer, so you don't need to snack. Instead of thinking, I'm going to deprive myself of my goodies, I'm going to take things away from my diet. Instead, think I'm going to add things in. Because if you're adding in, say, broccoli into your dinner, that extra fiber is going to keep you fuller for longer. So when it's the night time, after you put the kids to bed, you won't have the same need to snack as much. It's not that you're saying I'm not going to eat this food. It's like you won't really want to eat the Doritos or the chocolate or the ice cream because you've had your highly nutritious dinner with loads of fiber. So eat more food from a farm more than a factory, and go easy on yourself. If you try and do it all 100%, it won't last. And you'll feel defeated that you can't keep it up, and you're back in the cycle of eating mostly processed foods. So the second one is walk. Did it again. Daily. This is the most underrated fat loss tool there is. I used to scoff at people that would talk about walking for fat loss. But what I realized is this low intensity activity of walking taps into your fat stores. So it doesn't wreck your recovery. And therefore, you can do it every day. Whereas if you try to run every day, this is going to really heighten your hunger. And you might find you eat more. So running is great for you. It's great for your heart health, your strength of your legs, your mind. But walking is more effective if your focus is fat loss, especially if you don't enjoy running. Walking daily. So walking is better than running for fat loss. The second thing to think about when it comes to walking is making sure it's measured. So 8 to 12,000 steps per day. 8,000 on the days that you're training or you're going to the gym, if you start going to the gym. 12,000 on the days that you're not training. This means that you have a level that a minimum that you're going to stick to. Because when you've got this minimum, it gives you something to work towards. And you can break this up. Say, for example, you might do 2,000 steps in the morning, 2,000 steps in the afternoon, 2,000 steps in the evening, and 2,000 steps before you go to bed, like a walk after dinner. That's your 8,000 steps. What I like to do is, especially at the weekend when I'm going out and having a beer or curry, I will make sure I front load the steps at the start of the day. So I'm doing more and more steps early in the morning, because often on the weekend I spend a lot of time in the car and driving the kids places. So if you can, try to get your steps in early in the day, then you don't feel under pressure to do them later on. And timing wise, after meals is best. So you don't need a Garmin, you don't need a Fitbit. You can download a pedometer app on your phone for free. And when you finish your meal, look at your step count for the day and be like, okay, I'm on 2,500 steps. Right now, in 10 minutes, I'm going to see how many steps I can get just after the meal. So maybe you go out you just go walk around the block, or walk down the road and back again. And just say, I'm not going to stop walking now for 10 minutes, and see how many steps you can get in. Set those little challenges for yourself. But doing it after meals helps to metabolize your glucose. It helps with your digestion. And you feel that slump after you eat. Go for a walk and you won't feel as much of a slump, because that's your body trying to digest the food. And you can choose as well when you're walking to listen to music if you like, or listen to a podcast, or maybe just look around you. Use it as a chance to be mindful, and use it as a chance to clear your head. Okay, number 3, protein target. Your protein target is 1 gram per pound. Sorry. Oh, again, come on, Kev, stick to your systems, man. Per pound of body weight. And if you're watching from somewhere that does kilograms, well, I do kilograms, you can convert it into pounds. And it's your target body weight. So I'm 170 pounds. Therefore, I eat 170 grams of protein per day. And if you're 200 pounds, but you want to be 160 pounds, then you're aiming for 160 grams of protein. So it's your target body weight. Now, this protein is going to control your hunger. So it keeps you fuller for longer, reduces your urge to snack, and it boosts your metabolism. Because you burn more calories eating protein than you do eating carbs and fat, just trying to digest that protein, right? Which is a great bonus. And if you can, hit it with 3 meals. And if you need to add in a protein shake, you can do that. But if in doubt, overeat protein. Eat more grams than you've calculated it as your target for the day. And when you eat this protein, not all protein sources are created equal. So protein from a steak is better than protein from a protein shake or protein powder. But protein powder or protein shake is better than no protein at all. There is a hierarchy. Just make sure you get it in. Okay. No, next bit. So that's number 3. I keep spraying that stuff in my mouth. Number 4. Train to build muscle. I'm going to put bodybuilding in here. And you'll see why in a second. You might be looking at me saying, hey, you don't look like a bodybuilder. Well, there's a reason for that. As we age, as I mentioned, there is a slow decline. Our muscles are slowly shrinking. So, if our body's breaking every day, breaking down, we need to be building it to counter that. And genetically, you're limited by your genetics. So my dad is a very slim guy, as was his dad. My mother's very slim, she's quite small. You have a genetic potential. And that's something you can work towards, but you can't change your genetics. You can't change your bone structure, where your insertion points are in your muscles. This is why sometimes someone has a very prominent six-pack, for example. You will never have that if you don't have the same insertion points. You'll have more defined abdominals if you lose overall body fat, but you can't make yourself look exactly like someone else. It's not possible. When you see exaggerated versions of these, professional bodybuilders are all on steroids. I mean, it's the same with the Olympics. There's millions of dollars on the line. They're going to do what they need to win, which is understandable. But make sure when you think about bodybuilding, you're not thinking about a bodybuilder. You're thinking about counteracting Father Time. So bodybuilding, or being a bodybuilder, 3 times a week for 30 minutes. In that 30-minute session, you do 4 to 6 exercises, primarily compound. So this means the movements work multiple muscles at once. For example, a bench press is working your triceps and your chest. Then you do 2 sets per exercise. I don't need to put per exercise in there. 2 sets per exercise because 1 is maintenance and 2 is growth. Anything over that, you're looking at the minor progression. And I believe that if you want to do 30 minutes and you want to only do 3 times a week, you need to make sure that you save enough time to cover enough exercises to build a balanced body. So 2 sets is enough. And also when you're sleep deprived, especially as a dad, you won't have the energy to be doing 3 to 4 sets and spend an hour in the gym. So this is the structure of your workouts. With this, you need to apply mind to muscle connection. So no ego lifting. I know it sounds a bit woo-woo, mind to muscle connection. But for example, sometimes you'll see lads like lifting a weight that's far too heavy and just using momentum to get it up. When you do this, we have no control. And when there's no control, there's risk, and with risk, there's injury. Instead, you're thinking, how much time can I have my muscle working under tension? So I'd recommend when you do your 2 sets, a set lasts for about 1 minute. It's enough. 1 minute is a good duration to aim for because that means you're controlling the weight, you're going to bring the muscle to fatigue, and the muscle will adapt and grow and get stronger. But in this structure, we need to make sure that everything is controlled. Because once you get injured, especially as you're older, the path back is a long one, if you get back at all. And often when we find ourselves in a group class, could be F45 or a CrossFit class, for example, you get your ego takes over and you think, I want to keep up and I want to start adding weight. We are not weightlifters, we're lifting weights. This means that a weightlifter, their objective is whatever it takes, get that bar over your head, right? Say CrossFit. Whereas what we're trying to do, they're trying to make the movement as easy as possible by using momentum and multiple movements to do that. What we're trying to do is make the movement as difficult as possible. So we might be using quite a lightweight, but seeing how slowly we can do it to keep the muscle working on tension. Okay. When we're bodybuilding, the more muscle we have, the higher our what's called your basal metabolic rate. So think of it this way: if you like cars, a Mini Cooper or an SUV, which one uses more petrol or gasoline just sitting at the traffic lights? It's the SUV because it's bigger. So that petrol or the gasoline is the food you're eating. And therefore, when you have more muscle, it requires more energy. So just simply sitting around, you're going to burn more energy when you've got a bit more muscle. And again, this is someone who's lean. I don't mean someone who's very, very bulky. A high muscle to low fat ratio. But finally, don't overtrain. Where's my red pen? Now, I fell into this trap. Don't overtrain. So you'll see lads, and I fell into this at one stage when I was single because I had nothing better to do really. I was trying to do triathlons. I was trying to lift weights. Started doing jiu-jitsu. I was training twice a day. Then what happens is you start binge eating and you start skipping workouts because you're like, I've got too much to do. If I can't get it all done, I won't do anything at all. And when you're overtrained, it really messes with your hormones. It really messes with your testosterone levels. So, to not overtrain, be strict with 3 times a week, only 30 minutes. And set a timer. So when I go into the gym now, I have a timer up here. I will set the timer for 30 minutes. And once that 30 minutes is done, if I'm in the middle of a set, I'll finish it off, but then I'm gone. Because my wife knows as well, I've allocated just 30 minutes to working out. And especially if you work for yourself or you work from home, you know what it's like. You can start dossing a little bit. And you're like, yeah, maybe this workout turns out to be 45 minutes an hour. Then I spend half an hour eating. And next thing you know, the morning's gone, you've done no work. So there's no point having a really fit body if you can't work and you can't take care of the rest of your life. These systems should complement your life, not overtake it or take over it. So I think this is number 5. Stay hydrated. Now I use the word hydrated as opposed to drink water for a very specific reason. Stay hydrated. Okay. How much should you drink? Drink half your body weight in ounces per day. So, whatever your body weight is, let's say you're 170 kilo, like 170 pounds, like I am. I have an Adonis complex. I'm trying to be 170 kilo. I'm 170 pounds, right? I divide that by 2, which equals 85. So I'm going to drink 85 ounces of water, which is about 2.5 litres, I think. 85 ounces, which is about 2.5 litres. Now this might change based on it being the summer or based on me training more that day or running a lot that day. But that's generally the amount. Because to say like, oh, you have to drink 3 gallons, whatever, I mean, that doesn't make sense if you weigh twice as much as someone else. So when you drink your water, so this is how much you should drink. When you should drink it is between meals. Not during meals. When you drink water or any fluid during your meal, it dilutes your digestive enzymes, right? So you are messing with your digestive system. And you might find that drinking that fluid or water as you're eating, it's filling you up. So therefore, you're not getting the nutrients out of the food, right? Eat your food first, give it 30 minutes, and then drink your water. And vice versa, you could drink 30 minutes before you eat. In fact, I like to do that. So first thing in the morning, I drink a pint of water. And in fact, lately I've been drinking a pint of bone broth. Bone broth, and actually this is relevant to this conversation, it hydrates you because it contains electrolytes. Sodium, potassium, magnesium. There's one more. And sodium is a really important one, is salt. Because hydration flows where sodium goes. If you just drink water that comes from the tap, even if you have a filter tap that remineralizes your water like we do, it takes the salt out. So therefore you drink it and you wee it out. And if your wee is translucent, this is not good. Your wee should be yellow. So make sure that you're drinking with, if you're not using electrolytes or drinking bone broth, add salt to your water, just a little bit, so a pinch of salt. Or half a teaspoon, say, to a pint. A flat teaspoon, not a heaped one. And this means that your body's going to absorb and be hydrated as opposed to just it going through. Right. That's water. Because the reason why we need to drink or have salt is that we've spent most of our life eating processed foods. And processed foods are preserved using salt. Or more accurately, sodium. Therefore, if we switch to eating whole foods or single ingredient foods, then we need to put some of that salt back in that we've lost. Right? Now, before we discuss, they're the five rules or principles. But before we discuss how to implement them, it's so important that you don't just dive off the deep end and drown. These changes need to be incremental, very slow. And in James Clear's Atomic Habits, he talks about being 1% better every day. %1 better daily. Now, when you're 1% better every day, this is sustainable. So it looks like this. Boom, boom. Instead of, this is how you're going along, okay, well, we know that you're slowly declining, don't we? So let's do a decline. And we're not starting from zero. I mean, if you're alive, you have a basic level of health. So let's say we start here, okay? Now, as we're going to be going down, 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 gradually declining until we end up alone and ill and then die. Right? So this is where we're going. What we want to do is, instead of trying to just change like this, which is not sustainable, it's going to shock the system, and then we're going to find ourselves going right back down again. Instead, we need to make tiny changes. So, for example, don't start the gym tomorrow. Don't start lifting weights tomorrow. Instead, do this. Change one thing. 1%. That one thing could be, I'm going to drink a pint of water in the morning with a bit of salt. Then the next day, drink that pint of water with the salt and make sure you hit 8,000 steps. It says, and again, 1%. It's compounding because we've added those two together. Then you might say, okay, I'm going to start following 80-20 rule. Add those two plus my 80-20. I'm going to make sure that 80% of my food is from a farm, not a factory. Then add in I'm going to go 1 gym session this week. Just this week, not even 3 for the week. So these compound over time and you're getting 1% better. So it's a slow. And let me do that again, actually, that line. Because I want it to look like that, right? A perfect curve. But what it's really going to look like is this. A little bit wavy. But it's going in the right direction. It's going upwards. Because some weeks you might do 2 workouts, not 3. You might do 5,000 steps one day, not your 8 to 12,000 steps. But this is the principle of 1% better every day. Now, where we're headed, if we're doing nothing, is to hell. That's where we're headed. In James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, did I say that already? He talks about a plane on a flight path. And if it just changes its route by 3.5 degrees, it ends up somewhere completely different. So I'm going to do my best now to draw a plane. My black pen. My drawing skill. Right, I ran out of battery, but I got a new battery. New channel, this is what happens. I was about to draw a plane to explain your flight path. Where you're headed. This is a plane. That's not bad. And this plane has a destination, which is where you're headed now. And that destination is hell. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. It's misery. But if we change this 1% flight path, we're going to end up in heaven. So think of a shithole that you've been to. For me, it's Calcutta. I mean, it's awful there. Some people maybe like that kind of experience, not me. So you could end up there, or you could end up in the Maldives. Where do you want to spend your retirement? Where do you want to spend old age? That's the reality. Our body is the only place we have to live. It doesn't matter where you are now, you're always going to be in this body. So what are we doing to make sure that in X amount of years' time, it's somewhere we enjoy being? But this 1%, to manage your expectations, you won't notice it. If you work out, you stay hydrated, you get your steps in, you're eating real food, you look in the mirror every day and be like, I don't notice anything. Working out won't change anything in a week or even a month. But in a year, you might not even notice. But what will happen is other people notice, will start commenting, and then you start to see yourself differently. And because you kept that up for a year, it will encourage you to do another year. And after that, it's just what you do. It becomes like brushing your teeth. I mean, would you even think about leaving the house in the morning or going to bed at night without brushing your teeth? It's your baseline. It's an absolute minimum. And so will these 5 habits, these rules, these principles that I just shared with you. So now, the systems and how to implement them. So in our group, the Fit Dad Project, we have the easy eating system. What this is not is counting calories for the rest of your life. Here's why. When you try to do this for a long period of time, it becomes overwhelming. So instead of being that 1% change, it's a drastic change that shocks the system, disrupts your life, your family life, and it becomes something of a block between you and your partner. For example, you're out eating and you're getting your app out. You're having to weigh your food, to measure your food. You can't enjoy a simple meal out with your family because you're trying to be healthy. So this new healthy lifestyle is not helping you, it's hindering you. So we only count calories if nothing else works. And we only do that for a maximum of 2 weeks. Because counting calories, and when I say nothing else works, I mean that you're not being honest with yourself. If you tell me or someone else, okay, I'm eating 80% whole foods, but you're not. You're eating 50% whole foods. Or I'm doing my steps, but you're not. In fact, when you drive your car, your Fitbit counts your steps. And that counts as steps. And you know, okay, the vibration of the steering wheel is adding this as steps, and I'm not actually really doing 8 to 12,000 steps a day. I'm only doing 4. So it's easy to cheat yourself. But if you're going to cheat yourself, and sometimes we do this because of lack of knowledge, then you have to count calories. And what that will do for just 2 weeks, it will show you where you're messing up. For me, I counted calories for 2 weeks because I found it so boring. I can't keep this up. This is not living. But what it taught me was all this juice I'm drinking. I bought a juicer and was organic juice, making all these smoothies and stuff. The amount of calories is in just orange juice. And it's something I could take or leave. And what I'd rather do is leave it and have a couple of beers on the weekend. But it's only through counting calories that it showed me, Jesus, there's loads of calories in fruit juice. But then once I did that for 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut fruit juices out. I'm going to cut protein bars out, protein cereal, protein yogurt, and actually eat real food. So it's not counting calories for a long time. It's not weighing or measuring your food. Because when calories, there's about a 30% error margin with what's listed on the packet to what's actually in the food. And therefore, we're starting on a bit of a lie, really. So it's better to assess your food in a more intuitive way. And I'll get to that in a second. So easy eating is not counting calories, not weighing and measuring in your food. And it's definitely not, the last thing, making any food evil. For example, carbs. Carbs are bad. No. It depends on, firstly, what's the type, what is the carb? So is it from a farm? Is it from a factory? And if it's from a factory, how much of it are we eating? Is 10% of our diet from a factory? That's fine. Ice cream. But if it's 90% from a factory, then we're in trouble. So carbs are only bad depending on how much of them we're eating, and more importantly, what type of carbs they are. This is what we don't do. What we do in easy eating. We follow the system of flexible dieting. So first things first, a minimum 80-20, as mentioned in step 2, or step 1, should I say. 80-20, maybe 90-10. We follow this ratio, and we try to eat single ingredient foods, one ingredient. Because sometimes that 80%, we think, okay, if I buy something that says high fiber in it, or says low fat on it, or says low sugar, or no sugar, we think that's a health food. But this 80% is single ingredient foods, something that grows from the ground, has a mum and dad. Controversial, this one, but I believe an omnivore diet is optimal. That means you could say the Mediterranean diet. Meat and veg, animal products. So meat, fish, chicken, eggs. Not a vegan vegetarian diet. I was a vegan for a long time. Well, a year. That's long enough. And it's terrible for your health. We have to eat foods that are macro and micro rich. So macro meaning we've got protein, fats and carbs, but the sources of those protein, fats and carbs. So our carbs are potatoes, rice. Our protein is meat, fish, eggs, dairy. And our fat is avocados, olive oil, as opposed to trans fats or fats that are like margarine, this type of stuff. So the macro and the macro. And when we follow this, this is going to help us to optimize our hormones. TRT, HRT, all that stuff, I don't know about that jazz. I've never done it. Okay, I'd be lying if I said I was an expert. But there are no shortcuts in life. When we eat 80-20 single ingredient omnivore diet that is macro and micro rich, our hormones are going to be optimized. In other words, we're going to feel good. As I mentioned to you before, micros determine human performance. In other words, how you feel. If you're at a healthy weight, you're looking good and you're feeling good, it's going to sustain itself. You're going to want to eat that way, as opposed to, oh, I'm on a diet and I need to eat this way. So that's easy eating system. And we combine this. I'll leave this up here. No, I'll put it down. We combine this with our simple strength. Simple strength is as it says on the tin, three times a week, 30 minutes, compound lifts. Compound lifts in a gym with progressive overload. So that simply means, working backwards, progressive overload is every week I'm going to do the same lift because I don't want to have to learn a new lift and figure out the mechanics. It's too much in your head. If you stick to the same lifts every week for 3 months, you're going to know what to do, the movement paths. Right? Your nervous system has the movement down. And this is going to allow you then to progress by either adding another rep to the weight, to the set that you're doing, or keep the reps the same and add a bit more weight. And that could be like 2 pounds or 2.5 pounds or 5 kilo. You're adding a small amount, and that's going to increase your strength every week, right? You're doing it in a gym. Home workouts are okay if you've got nothing else, but you can't get progressive overload in the same way body weight than you can in the gym. Think of it like building a house. When you build a house, you could use just your hands, just your body, right? It's going to take you a long time and be very uncomfortable and very inefficient. Or you can use tools. And this is what we do in the gym. Barbells, kettlebells, dumbbells, cable machines. All these tools and the fact that we can manipulate the weights mean it's so much easier to achieve progressive overload. When we have these tools, we can do compound movements with them. Okay, it's very hard to do a handstand push-up, but it's very easy to just lift the bar over your head and then gradually add a bit more weight onto it over time until maybe you're lifting your body weight overhead. And when we have all these three down, we make sure that we're doing it in 30 minutes. Because anything more is too exhausting for someone who's a busy dad. That is the simple strength system in a nutshell. We combine simple strength and easy eating with one more thing: community. As dads, take the kids to different places. Try and spend time with the wife. I say try, especially if you've got young kids, right? But what happens is we know less and less fellas, especially our age, because we're not doing sports, etc. And therefore, we don't have a community around us. It's so hard to find someone that's into the same things you are and is a dad and that lives local, right? So this community will end up, if it's the right structure, the right type of people, giving you accountability. It's very hard to be accountable just to yourself. You could be accountable to your wife, but she doesn't probably understand what you're going through and what you're trying to do. But when you're with other lads, other dads in the same boat, you have to report to someone and to other people. That's going to allow you to do the things that are hard when you really don't want to. And this could be using technology as well. Like you're using your Fitbit, so you track stuff, okay? And you share. And when you track and share, you support. So what happens is when you join a group, you start off, you don't know anything. You don't know what the routines are, what everyone else is doing, you're the new guy. But then eventually over time, other new guys join. And you become the person they look to. The person setting the example, sharing their meals, sharing their personal bests. We use in our community a leaderboard. So this, every time you add to the group, you contribute, you move up the leaderboard, you unlock courses, we do step challenges, 90-day challenges, daily habits. And this accountability, this community, by tracking, sharing and supporting, is what's going to keep you going when times get hard. So, the next video, if you're interested in, I want to dive deep into calorie counting, is up in this corner here. And it tells you really why it's not the way forward. Because you will fall into the trap of hearing people say, it's just calories in, calories out. That's like saying, you want to earn more money than you spend. Duh, I know that if I need to be rich. Right, but how do I do it? And that's what we delve into in that video. Thank you.